The 1%. They don't think like the 99%. They don't act like the 99%. They don't live like the 99%. Now, the question is, why? It's not because they're lucky. It's not because they're special. It's not even because they had something you don't. It's because they chose a different mindset. The 1% mindset is not about money. It's not about titles. It's not about fame. It's about the way you see yourself, the way you discipline yourself, the way you demand more of yourself when others are satisfied with less. Most people settle. Most people compromise. Most people quit too early. But the 1%, they refuse to settle. They don't compromise their dreams. They don't quit when it gets hard. So let me ask you, are you willing to think differently? Are you willing to act differently? Are you willing to live differently so you can have a life very few will ever taste? Because success is not an accident. It's a decision. It's a mindset. It's the 1% mindset. Most people live like most people. They follow the crowd. They settle. They look around and say, this must be it. But let me tell you something. If you want to be in the 1%, you cannot think like the 99%. You see, the 99% play it safe. They look for comfort. They choose security over possibility. They ask, what if it doesn't work? But the 1%? They ask, what if it does? That's the difference. It's a question. It's a shift. It's a mindset. I remember when I was young, I used to think like everyone else. Get a job. Stay secure. Don't take risks. But then I met someone who challenged me. He said, Jim, you don't get paid for time. You get paid for the value you bring to time. And I realized the majority think about time. The few think about value. That's the 1% mindset. It's not about clocking hours. It's about becoming more valuable. It's about growing yourself. Most people wait. They wait for things to change. They wait for the right time. They wait for luck, for someone, for something. But the 1% don't wait. They move. They act. They take the first step. You know why? Because the crowd is never ready. And if you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. The 1% mindset says, I'll do what others won't. I'll stay longer, work harder, think deeper. I'll sacrifice today for tomorrow. The 99% say, enjoy today. Tomorrow will take care of itself. But tomorrow doesn't take care of itself. Tomorrow is built by what you do today. Now listen carefully. If you do what the 99% do, you'll have what the 99% have. But if you decide to think differently, to discipline yourself differently, to learn differently, then one day you'll look around and you won't be where the crowd is. You'll be where the 1% live. So what does it mean to think differently? It means you question what's normal. You don't just accept the standard. You don't just live by tradition. Most people say, it's always been this way. But the 1% say, it doesn't always have to be this way. Most people settle for average. But the 1% ask, why not extraordinary? It's not arrogance. It's awareness. It's realizing that life has more to offer. And here's the truth. The crowd won't cheer you at first. They won't understand. They might laugh. They might doubt. But let me warn you, if you think differently, you will feel different. And being different feels lonely. That's why so few do it. But loneliness is the price of greatness. Separation is the path to distinction. Now let me ask you something. Have you been thinking like the 99%? Do you spend your time worrying about what they think? Do you trade your dreams for approval? If you do, you'll always stay in the crowd. Because the crowd loves company, but they don't love progress. The 1% mindset is about courage. The courage to walk away from the herd. The courage to bet on yourself. The courage to say, I will not live like everyone else. And here's the beauty of it. Once you think differently, you start living differently. And when you live differently, you start getting results that are different. Don't be afraid to separate yourself. Don't be afraid to think differently. Don't be afraid to live with discipline, with vision, with courage. Because if you think like the 1%, you will live like the 1%. And that, my friend, is the beginning of success. Most people play life like it's a sprint. They want results fast. They want instant gratification. They want recognition today, reward tomorrow. But the 1%? They play the long game. They understand that greatness is not built in a week, not in a month, not even in a year. It's built over decades, with consistent actions, with patient effort, with vision that stretches far beyond the immediate. I remember when I first realized this. I was impatient. I wanted success to show up quickly. I wanted to see results immediately. I wanted proof that hard work paid off. But life had a lesson for me, a lesson that the crowd never wants to hear. Short-term comfort is the enemy of long-term success. The 99% choose comfort. They trade discipline for ease. They give up on vision because it doesn't pay today. The 1% choose vision, even when it's invisible, even when it feels distant, even when others doubt. Playing the long game requires patience. It requires faith. It requires seeing beyond the noise. The crowd looks at a seed and says, "It's just a seed, nothing will happen." The 1%, they see the tree it can become. They plant it. They water it. They protect it. They wait, and eventually, it grows. The 1% mindset is about delayed gratification. Most people want the reward first. They want the trophy before the training. They want recognition before the work. But life doesn't work that way. Success is the result of preparation. It's the outcome of action sustained over time. It's built when no one is watching, when no one applauds, when every day feels like a small, invisible step. Let me tell you a story. I once met a man who started with nothing, no money, no connections, no special talent, but he had a vision. He knew where he wanted to be in 20 years. He worked daily. He studied. He learned. He disciplined himself. Years passed. He faced failures, setbacks, criticism, but he stayed on the path. Today, he lives a life most people only dream of. Why? Because he was willing to play the game others wouldn't. The 1% mindset sees opportunity where others see obstacles. It sees investment where others see expense. It sees growth where others see work. Long-term vision is the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and living a life of freedom, influence, and impact. Now, don't misunderstand me. The long game is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires commitment. It requires doing things today that the crowd will not do, so that tomorrow you live like the 1%. The crowd wants comfort. The 1% wants freedom. The crowd wants approval. The 1% wants results. And freedom and results, they do not come overnight. So, how do you develop a long-term vision? 1. See beyond today. Don't measure your success by what happens this week. Look 10, 20, 30 years ahead. Decide who you want to be. Decide what kind of life you want. 2. Commit to daily action. Every small step adds up. The 1% do something every day that brings them closer to their vision. 3. Ignore the noise. The crowd will laugh. They will doubt. They will call you foolish. But remember, if you follow the crowd, you'll stay with the crowd. 4. Be patient. Great things take time. Trees don't grow overnight. Rivers don't carve canyons in a day. The 1% mindset is not about shortcuts. It's about long-term focus. It's about playing the game others refuse to play. And here's the truth. When you play the long game, when you think in decades instead of days, when you act today for the rewards of tomorrow, you're already ahead of 99% of people. You can either follow the crowd and get what the crowd gets, or you can see farther, work longer, endure more, and live a life the 99% will never know. The choice is yours. The game is long. The rewards are for those who play differently. The 1% mindset is not easy, but it is simple. See beyond today. Act today for tomorrow. Play the game others won't. And one day, you'll look around and you'll realize you're no longer in the crowd. You're living the life only a few ever achieve. Thinking differently, having vision, believing in yourself. All of that is meaningless if it's not followed by action. The 1% mindset does not live in ideas alone. It lives in action. It lives in doing what others are unwilling to do. Most people spend their days planning, dreaming, and talking. They say, I will start tomorrow. Or, I just need one more piece of information. Or, I'm waiting for the right moment. But here's the truth. The right moment never arrives for the 99%. The right moment is created by the 1%. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality. I remember when I was starting out, I had ideas, I had ambition, but I lacked results. Then a mentor told me, Jim, don't wait for inspiration. Start now. Do something today, no matter how small. The 1% don't wait for perfect conditions. They create perfect conditions by acting. That hit me hard. I realized that waiting, planning endlessly, thinking too much, was keeping me exactly where I was. Action changes everything. Action is the fuel that turns a mindset into reality. Becoming the 1% in action means doing what others won't consistently. It's not about occasional effort. It's about daily discipline. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. Even when it's hard. Even when it's inconvenient. Most people quit at the first sign of difficulty. They abandon their goals at the first obstacle. They complain about effort. They measure success by immediate comfort. The 1%, they embrace effort. They welcome challenges. They understand that every step forward, no matter how small, compounds over time. Action also requires clarity and priorities. The 1% know where they're going. They know what matters most. They focus their energy on high-value activities. They don't scatter themselves on trivialities. You cannot become the 1% by doing a little bit of everything. You must do the right things consistently. You must focus on activities that align with your vision. And you must do them even when the crowd mocks or doubts you. Let me share a truth about action. It's uncomfortable. It's risky. It exposes you to failure. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every 1% individual you admire has failed more times than you have even tried. Why? Because they acted, they risked, they learned, they improved. Action transforms knowledge into skill, skill into competence, competence into results, and results are what separate the 1% from the 99%. Now, becoming the 1% in action also means adopting consistency. Most people take action in bursts. They are motivated one day, discouraged the next. They start projects, then abandon them. They chase trends instead of building foundations. The 1%, they act with rhythm. They act daily. They build momentum. Momentum compounds faster than talent. Consistency beats occasional brilliance every single time. Let's not forget the power of courage in action. Most people fear judgment. They fear failure. They fear stepping outside the comfort zone. The 1% embrace discomfort. They act even when scared. They step into uncertainty knowing that courage builds character. Courage in action is what separates dreamers from achievers. And here's the beauty. When you act like the 1% every day, something remarkable happens. Your confidence grows. Your competence grows. Your opportunities multiply. People notice. Doors open. Life aligns. The crowd wonders, how did they do it? The answer is simple. They acted when others hesitated. They persisted when others quit. They played the long game with relentless, consistent action. So, how do you start acting like the 1% today? 1. Take one bold step. Do something today that moves you closer to your vision, no matter how small. 2. Prioritize ruthlessly. Focus on what will yield the most impact. Ignore distractions. 3. Embrace discomfort. Do what others avoid. Say what others fear. Step where others hesitate. 4. Show up every day, without exception. Small actions build huge results over time. 5. Learn from failure. Don't let mistakes stop you. Let them teach you, refine you, strengthen you. Remember, thinking like the 1% is not enough. Seeing the opportunities the 1% see is not enough. Having vision and clarity is not enough. Action is what converts potential into reality. Action is what transforms dreams into life. Action is the heartbeat of the 1% mindset. The question is, are you ready to act? Are you ready to do what the 99% won't? Are you ready to commit to consistent, bold, disciplined action? Because when you do, you don't just join the 1%. You become the 1%. Life is not a smooth road. It is filled with obstacles. It is filled with setbacks. It is filled with moments that test your patience, your courage, and your determination. Most people, they stumble at the first challenge. They give up at the first failure. They complain when life doesn't go as planned. But the 1%, they see setbacks differently. They understand a secret that most never grasp. Setbacks are not stops. They are stepping stones. Think about it. Every successful person you admire, every entrepreneur, every leader, every achiever, they have faced failure. They have faced rejection. They have faced moments where giving up seemed easier than going on. And yet, they persisted. They endured. They turned setbacks into strength. That is resilience. Resilience is not avoiding failure. Resilience is learning to rise every time you fall. Resilience is discovering your inner power when life pushes you to your limits. I remember when I faced one of my earliest challenges. I had big dreams. I had ambition, but I lacked experience and resources. I tried. I failed. I felt frustrated, discouraged, and alone. Then I learned something valuable. Failure is feedback. Every setback is a lesson disguised as difficulty. Every closed door is an invitation to find a better one. That moment changed me. I stopped fearing failure. I started studying it. I started learning from it. I started using it as fuel to propel me forward. Here's the truth. The 99% see failure as a full stop. They see setbacks as signs to quit. They let obstacles define them. The 1% see failure as a comma. They see setbacks as a redirection. They use obstacles to sharpen their focus, strengthen their character, and build resilience. Resilience also requires patience. Many people rush. They want quick results. When things don't happen fast, they panic. They quit. But resilience is about pacing yourself. It's about understanding that growth takes time. It's about enduring the process, even when progress feels invisible. It's about trusting that effort compounded over time creates breakthroughs. The 1% understand another truth. Setbacks are temporary, but the lessons are permanent. When you face difficulty, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this to grow stronger? How can I turn this challenge into an advantage? Every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. Every failure is a chance to build resilience. Every rejection is an invitation to refine your approach and improve your strategy. Let's talk about courage. Resilience is not passive. It is active. It is the courage to continue, even when the path is unclear. It is the courage to face criticism, doubt, and uncertainty. It is the courage to keep showing up, even when no one is applauding. Courage is what separates the 1% from the 99%. Now, resilience also requires perspective. Most people see a temporary setback as permanent failure. They let one mistake define their worth. They let one challenge crush their spirit. The 1% see the bigger picture. They understand that life is a long game. They know that today's struggles are tomorrow's strengths. They embrace the process, knowing that resilience is built slowly, one challenge at a time. Let me share a simple truth. Strength is not born in comfort. Strength is born in struggle. Strength is born when you refuse to give up, when you refuse to surrender, when you refuse to be defeated. Every setback you endure, every challenge you face, every moment you feel like quitting, you are building the muscle of resilience. You are becoming stronger. You are becoming more capable. You are becoming the 1%. The 1% mindset also includes preparation for adversity. Most people are reactive. They wait for problems to come and then panic. The 1% are proactive. They anticipate challenges. They plan. They develop strategies. They fortify themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically to face whatever comes. Resilience is not only about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about turning every setback into a springboard. Here's a practical approach to develop resilience. 1. Reframe setbacks as lessons. Every failure teaches you something. Ask, what can I learn from this? 2. Stay consistent in your efforts. Resilience grows with repeated action. even in the face of difficulty. 3. Maintain a long-term perspective. Don't let temporary challenges derail your lifelong vision. 4. Surround yourself with support. Mentors, friends, and advisors can help you navigate tough times. 5. Develop mental toughness. Train your mind to endure discomfort. Accept it as part of growth. Finally, remember this. Resilience transforms you. It shapes your character. It teaches you discipline, patience, courage, and perspective. It prepares you for success in ways comfort never could. The 99% fear setbacks. The 1% embrace them. The 99% complain. The 1% learn. The 99% quit. The 1% rise. And when you rise again and again, you're no longer the person who fell. You are stronger, wiser, more capable. You are the 1%. So the question is simple. When setbacks come, and they will, what will you do? Will you quit like most people? Or will you rise like the 1%? Because resilience is the heartbeat of greatness. Resilience is the secret weapon of the 1%. And resilience turns every setback into the fuel that powers your success. You've learned to think differently. You've embraced challenges. You've acted when others hesitated. You've developed resilience. You've persisted when most would have quit. Now, the question becomes, what does it feel like to live the 1% life? What are the rewards of adopting a mindset that separates the few from the many? The first reward is freedom. Not just financial freedom, although that often comes. Freedom of choice. Freedom of time. Freedom of action. When you operate with the 1% mindset, you are no longer bound by the limitations others accept. You make decisions from strength, not necessity. You create options because your preparation, your knowledge, and your resilience allow it. I remember early in my career, I was surrounded by people who complained about their jobs, who said, "I can't take risks," who let fear dictate their lives. I chose differently. I worked on myself every day. I acted like a winner, even before I had all the results. I embraced discomfort, setbacks, and discipline. And slowly, life began to reward me. Opportunities appeared. Doors opened. Challenges became stepping stones. The life that once seemed distant began to feel within reach. That's the first reward, freedom through preparation and action. The second reward is confidence. Confidence does not come from luck. It comes from experience. It comes from facing adversity and rising anyway. It comes from taking consistent action and seeing the results compound over time. Confidence is quiet. It is not bragging. It is the inner knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you. The 1% develop this confidence through persistence, learning, and self-discipline. Imagine walking into a room and knowing that, no matter the challenge, you have the tools, mindset, and preparation to succeed. That is a gift of the 1% life. The third reward is impact. The 1% mindset is not only about personal gain. It is about influence. When you rise above mediocrity, people notice. When you handle challenges with grace, people are inspired. When you persist despite setbacks, you become a beacon for others. Your actions inspire. Your mindset motivates. Your life demonstrates what is possible. And this is a reward that cannot be measured in money or possessions. The 1% life is a life that makes a difference. The fourth reward is clarity and peace of mind. Most people live in chaos. They are distracted by opinions, fears, and short-term pressures. They chase trends and compare themselves endlessly. The 1% operate with clarity. They know their values, their priorities, and their purpose. They act deliberately. They sleep better at night because their choices align with their goals. Peace of mind is not something bought. It is earned through consistent, disciplined action. It comes from knowing that you are building a life worth living, step by step, day by day. The fifth reward is the joy of mastery. When you commit to growth, you become excellent at what you do, not because you chase recognition, not because you seek applause, but because excellence becomes a habit. Mastery is satisfying. It gives a sense of accomplishment that fleeting pleasures never can. You wake up with purpose. You go to sleep knowing you are improving. And over time, the compounding of skill, knowledge, and discipline produces extraordinary results. The 1% life also comes with the reward of resilience. Because you have faced challenges before, setbacks no longer intimidate you. Because you have acted while others hesitated, you are prepared for the unknown. Because you have embraced discomfort, fear becomes fuel rather than a stop sign. Resilience is not flashy. It is quiet. It is reliable. And it allows you to enjoy life with a sense of security that the majority never experience. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. The 1% life is not easy. It demands discipline. It demands sacrifice. It demands courage every single day. But here's the truth. The rewards are worth every effort. You gain more than possessions. You gain more than recognition. You gain a life that aligns with your potential. You gain control over your destiny. You gain the ability to live fully, boldly, and with purpose. Here's a personal story. I once faced a period of doubt and uncertainty. Opportunities were scarce. Setbacks were frequent. I questioned whether the 1% mindset was worth it. Then I reminded myself of the principles I had learned. Act decisively. Embrace discomfort. Learn from setbacks. Persist daily. I applied these principles consistently. Slowly, doors began to open. Slowly, momentum. Slowly, the life I had imagined became reality. It was not luck. It was action. It was discipline. It was resilience. And the rewards were not just financial. They were mental, emotional, and spiritual. I experienced freedom, confidence, influence, clarity, and joy. That is the 1% life. That is what happens when you commit to a different mindset. So, ask yourself, are you willing to think differently? Are you willing to act consistently? Are you willing to embrace discomfort, setbacks, and discipline? If yes, the 1% life is waiting for you. If no, you will remain in the crowd, watching others rise, watching others succeed, watching others live a life you once dreamed of. The choice is yours. Embrace the 1% mindset. Take action every day. Face challenges with courage. Learn from every setback. And live the rewards of a life only a few will ever achieve. Remember, the 1% life is not about luck. It is not about magic. It is about deliberate choices, consistent action, resilience, and a mindset that refuses to settle for mediocrity. Live it, breathe it, embody it, and your life will speak for itself. As we reach the end of this journey, remember this: success is not a secret. It is a choice. It is a mindset. It is the willingness to think differently, act boldly, and persist when most would quit. The 1% mindset is not reserved for a lucky few. It is available to anyone willing to embrace discipline, resilience, and growth. Take the lessons you've learned. Think differently. Embrace setbacks. Act consistently. Build resilience. Live intentionally. And remember, the rewards are real. Freedom, confidence, mastery, clarity, influence, they await those who commit. Your journey will not be easy. It will test you. It will challenge you. But the life you create will be extraordinary. So go forward with courage. Go forward with purpose. Go forward knowing that the 1% life is possible because you are ready to live it. Live it daily. Act as if it's already yours. And watch your life transform in ways you once only imagined. Your future begins now. The 1% mindset is yours to claim.